Okay. Recording in progress. Welcome to our gut extravaganza. I'm Jenny Ray, a physical therapist and clinic director at Rehab Specialists. We are located in Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, and Encino. And tonight, I will be talking about the gut and what we can do from an exercise point of view. But leading us off is one of my most favorite people, my bestie, Miss Paige Woodward. She's a nurse practitioner, been practicing for 15 years. She's super smarty pants, got her NP degree from Yale, worked at Dana-Farber, worked at Tower Oncology with anyone who knows Philomena McAndrew. She's like a phenomenal oncologist. And now she's working at Cedars in Gynok, but in her free time, she's been studying and learning and very interested and passionate about functional medicine and how that relates to not only her cancer patients, but to people in general. So she will take it from there. I hope I got that correct.
You did. So let me share my screen. Oops. Okay, hold on. Oops, sorry. Okay, so my part of the gut health talk is more in relation to cancer treatment, and how we can improve the gut health during a diagnosis of cancer and after going through all the treatment. So we're going to go through and we're going to talk about like what is the gut microbiome, what impedes the gut microbiome, and then we'll go into the cancer portion and treatment portion. So welcome to my talk. The gut is primarily found in, the immune system is primarily found in the gut. About 70% of a person's immune system is in their gut. The gut microbiome develops in the first 3 years of a human life. And studies show that a healthy gut microbiome is inseparable from host health. So it's super important to maintain both. So why is gut health so important? It's a key component of digestion. It supports many microorganisms that make up good bacteria, and it helps decrease inflammation, infection, and disease. So this slide is showing what normal intestinal barrier looks like and what one that's impacted. So a normal gut microbiome has what we call these tight junctions, and the walls are close together so that bacteria, proteins, food, things cannot get through it. When it is impaired, bacteria, food, and other microorganisms can get through, causing inflammation and disease. And these are factors that can all impact the gut microbiome and reduce the intestinal barrier. So over-exercising or the wrong type of exercise, if you eat an inflammatory diet or you're not taking the right supplements, the environment, so toxins, if you've taken a bunch of antibiotics and drugs, and just general, your genetics can impair your gut microbiome. So this is one type of impaired gut microbiome, is dysbiosis. It's basically an overgrowth of all different kinds of bacteria. Your normal gut should have some bacteria that support routine health. And then when an overgrowth happens, again, inflammation, cancer, autoimmune diseases, anxiety, depression, it can lead to all types of bad things. And then the other type of impaired microbiome is a leaky gut. And this is what I was talking about with the tight junctions in the intestinal wall. When they are opened up, all different types of pathogens, food particles, toxins can get through and lead to, sometimes people develop food allergies from leaky gut. A normal piece of chicken may have been fine one day and the next day it's not. Again, autoimmune diseases, cancer, systemic inflammation. So this slide is about the development of cancer linked to a poor gut microbiome. Specifically, dysbiosis can cause types of cancer, and they've linked it to colon cancer, breast cancer, and stomach cancer. And stomach cancer is related to H. pylori infection, which is an overgrowth, and typically that's treated with antibiotics. Breast cancer can result from intestinal dysbiosis and dysregulation of steroid hormones, leading to estrogen positive cancers. And the colon cancer arises from a dysfunction in the epithelial lining of the colon. So we're going to talk about all the different types of treatment for cancer. We have hormone therapy, we have surgery, bone marrow transplant, chemo, targeted therapy, radiation therapy, and immune therapy. So each one of these can contribute to impairing the gut microbiome. They can cause nausea, they can cause diarrhea, they can cause constipation, impact digestion. With specifically for bone marrow transplant, you can develop graft versus host disease, where your body, basically you get a new immune system in a bone marrow transplant, and then that new immune system attacks your gut microbiome and causes usually severe diarrhea. Targeted, even though everybody wants to be on immune therapy and targeted therapies these days because they think they don't have side effects, they can actually cause inflammatory issues, specifically colitis, and you can have horrendous diarrhea. So again, these are all impacting the gut microbiome and causing dysbiosis and leaky gut. So gastrointestinal toxicity is the most common side effect of cancer treatments. They, as I was talking about before, they increase the intestinal permeability, they cause dysbiosis. Symptoms can include nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, and mucositis. And mucositis is basically like a sloughing of the lining of the cells of the mouth and esophagus. And this can lead to dose reductions and treatment delays, and ultimately can impair the patient's prognosis and treatment plan. So we're going to talk about nausea and vomiting. This is severe because it can impact a patient's nutritional status. They have difficulty eating if they're constantly unable to digest and they're not able to tolerate all their nutrients. It can impair their quality of life and their day-to-day functioning. And it also impairs their adherence to a treatment regimen. If they're feeling nauseous and vomiting all the time, they're not going to want to continue their treatment. And ultimately, that could impair their life. So this is a picture of mucositis. Again, I was telling you, this is a breakdown of the epithelial lining of the mouth and the esophagus. And it lines the entire gastrointestinal tract, which goes from the mouth to the anus. And it leaves it open to ulceration and infection. And this impacts patients' ability to eat, to swallow, to drink water. It causes weight loss. It's very painful. Again, can lead to not adhering to treatment and impacting overall health. Constipation. So this occurs when the bowel movements become less frequent and the stools become very difficult to pass. They're hard and dry. It can lead to hemorrhoids, anal and rectal fissures, which are small tears. They can become infected as well. Can lead to diverticulitis, which is inflammatory pouching in the colon wall. It can cause a bowel obstruction or impaction. And it can also strain the pelvic floor muscles, leading to patients to leak urine. Again, it causes feeling of fullness, and it can cause difficulty with eating, digesting. Often severe constipation can lead to vomiting. And then sometimes if they're obstructed, that can lead to an unnecessary surgery. So this severely impacts the whole gut microbiome. Diarrhea. So this is when stools become loose and watery and frequent. It can be associated with abdominal cramping, nausea. It can lead to electrolyte imbalances and dehydration. Sometimes people have mucus or bloody stools. They can also get infections and have fevers and be admitted to the hospital. It can cause delays in treatment, inability to eat and digest, weight loss. So how are we going to heal the gut microbiome and keep the immune system healthy after being diagnosed with cancer and undergoing treatment? The first thing would be a healthy diet. Food is considered medicine. Anti-inflammatory foods, so anything processed, oils, like you want to avoid like soybean oil, canola oil, avoid gluten and dairy because they're pretty inflammatory. It's important to increase your fiber intake. You want to shoot for at least 35 grams of fiber per day. So adding chia seeds, flax seeds, acacia fiber, psyllium husk, non-starchy leafy greens, drinking 2 to 3 liters of fluid per day. And that doesn't include your coffee, your soda, or any caffeinated beverage because that's dehydrating. Potentially adding electrolyte fluids to your diet. One of my favorite things is Element. It's LMNT. I'm not sponsored by them. They're packets that you add to water and they have no sugar, no artificial ingredients. And they add magnesium, potassium, and sodium to your diet. And they actually taste good. And if you're going to eat meat, it should be organic, pasture-raised, grass-fed beef, wild-caught seafood, and again, avoiding any processed and refined sugar and carbs. Probiotics. So there's a million probiotics on the market. You can go to Whole Foods and walk down the aisle and be completely overwhelmed. I get this question often, what probiotic should I take? You can walk in CVS and there's probiotics on the shelf. Which one do you buy? Ideally, you want to look for a multi-strain probiotic because this helps to improve the gut bacteria. And the other thing you want to look for is spore-based probiotics. They're natural to the gut. They have a protective shell that enables them to remain alive but inactive when not in the intestinal tract. And they're able to survive, when you swallow it, they're able to survive harsh stomach acid and bile acid and remain alive until they get into the small intestine. And then the shell will break open and the good bacteria will come out and improve that gut bacteria. You also want to look for the word bacillus. It means safe and natural to the gut. It remains stable and effective, considerably longer than conventional probiotics.
Hey, Paige, can I put that word in the message box? Bacillus?
Bacillus, BACILLUS.
Okay, great.
So that's the first word you want to look for in a type of bacteria. And there's 4 main bacillus bacterias that should be in your probiotic. Bacillus clausii, Bacillus coagulans, Bacillus indicus, HU36, and Bacillus subtilis, HU58. They found probiotics can decrease cell proliferation and cause cell death, specifically in colon cancer. So they're very beneficial. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by any brands, but I will tell you my 3 favorite brands. There's one Megaspore probiotic. They're not cheap. You can find it on Amazon. I also have a website called FullScript that you can order from. There's Thrive, Just Thrive, and Seed. Those are all really good quality probiotics.
Okay, so again, I put that all in the chat box if you guys want to reference that later.
So the next way that we can improve the gut microbiome is healthy sleep. So sleep is super critical for anybody, for the body to, it gets rid of all the bad cells and the toxins. It's your time to rest and repair. Ideally, you want to look for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. You tend to get your best hours of sleep before midnight. It's best to eat your last meal about 2 to 3 hours prior to going to bed, so you're not trying to digest and rest. And again, this slide has a great amount of things that you can do, but finding a bedtime ritual, if that's like drinking tea and reading a book, trying to avoid blue light, so putting our phones away, our computers away, or wearing blue light glasses if you need to be up working. Many people think alcohol is a great thing to do before sleep because it makes them, mellow out and calm down, but it actually really impairs sleep and can cause, because your body's really busy trying to burn off all the alcohol, so it can cause sweats and like a rapid heart rate. Sometimes taking a walk, a warm shower, trying to have a consistent bedtime and wake up time. So sleep is super critical, super important. The next thing is stress management. So there are many ways that we can manage our stress. Clearly, living in this world, we've all been stressed with COVID, with work, with life, who knows? So listening to music therapy, maybe going to physical therapy with our friend Jenny, mental health therapy, visiting a spa, some type of exercise, maybe a hobby like knitting, sewing, meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, and making time for you. And one thing that's not on here that I also think would be very beneficial is acupuncture. I've been going to acupuncture once a week, and I find it lovely. You just lay there and you just get 30 minutes to yourself. So that's another thing. But they found stress can really impair the gut microbiome and lead to, again, more to leaky gut than dysbiosis. So critical to manage our stress. It's also important to decrease the amount of toxins in our body or in our life. So as you can see, this slide shows many toxins that are present in our world, from gas and BPA and plastics to lead paint, exhaust from our cars, flame retardants on our furniture and rugs, pesticides sprayed on our food, chemicals that are used in dry cleaning, parabens. So what are things we can do? We can switch from plastic to glass using glass containers like Pyrex containers. We can use a stainless steel water bottle instead of a plastic water bottle. In terms of pesticides with food, we can try to focus on the dirty dozen and the clean 15, and that's a whole list of different fruits and vegetables you should buy, organic versus non-organic. So typically if things have a skin like a banana that you can peel, or an orange, you don't necessarily have to buy them organic. And surprisingly, fluoride in toothpaste, and a lot of toothpaste and body products have a lot of chemicals in them. So maybe a baking soda based toothpaste. Also, dental floss, the plastic in the dental floss has a lot of chemicals. So there's other ways to find.
Can I ask, are you telling me that my drink, what's this ammonia manganese here? Can I not have a cocktail?
I think it depends on what it is.
And then
No, you can drink.
Okay, thank God. Just not at bedtime, as we learned. But so when I see a picture like this, I find it very overwhelming, and I feel like, oh, there's no way I can ever take away all the toxins. Is there anything that you would recommend, like if you could pick just a few
things?
Yeah.
So I think probably switching to glass containers, because we spend a lot of time eating and storing our food, so we don't absorb all the chemicals from plastic containers. And also probably like skincare products, because our skin is one of the largest organs of our body. So finding like lotions and sunscreens and makeup that's not toxic. And one of the places you can look is the Environmental Working Group. They also have an app called the Think Dirty app, and you can literally download it on your smartphone, and you can open up and you can barcode scan any product, and it will tell you on a scale of 0 to 10 if something is toxic or not. And ideally, you want your product in a 0 to 3 range.
Well, that's interesting.
I do. Sometimes I walk through the grocery store and scan things.
Yeah.
And just because it's Whole Foods or Erewhon Market, not everything is perfect and healthy and toxic free. So in the last slide is exercise. And I'm not going to go too deep into this because Jenny is going to take over and discuss how exercise can impact the gut microbiome. But basically it helps to limit inflammation and modify gut flora. And they found that aerobic activities tend to be better than strength training, can increase blood flow to digestive organisms. And one good thing to do is maybe taking a walk after a meal. So I will let her go way more into detail, but that concludes my portion of the presentation. And I have one last slide. So as Jenny had mentioned, I started my own business on the side it's called Functional Cancer Care, and I'm doing health coaching for cancer patients using functional medicine. So this is my email. Please visit my website. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. And if anyone wants to sign up for a package, I'm giving a 10% discount to anybody who attended this and just mention gut health. Thank you.
That in the chat box. Thank you, Nurse Paige. So I'm going to go through my part pretty quickly, and then we will open up for all sorts of questions if anyone has any. So let me share my screen here. Share. And let's, I always forget where to start this. Play from start. Okay, here we go. Exercise and your gut. So again, I'm Jenny. I'm a physical therapist at Rehab Specialists. Oh, this got cut off. I'm also the founder of mybreastysays.com. I just saw my first error here. This is not a good start, but I'll give you that info later. But if you're on social media, follow us at mybreastysays on Instagram. I have a private Facebook group, and mybreastysays.com is a website that talks about different ways to survive breast cancer. Okay. So when we think about our gut, when I talk about exercise and gut, usually this is what we think of, right? Like, you know, how do we get a 6-pack? But for this talk, we are talking about this happy little gut. So here is the dysbiotic, leaky gut that Paige was talking about, and we are going to talk about happy intestines. Now, obviously, exercise can help with the last slide, you know, the overweight guy, but that's a different presentation when we talk about how to do exercises for a 6-pack. Today, we're talking about exercises to help with your digestion and all of those other benefits Paige had mentioned. So when you take a look at the research, admittedly, a lot of the research is in rodents still. Like there's been a lot of really lot of things in rodents that are really promising, but one research study in particular that I kept finding cited all over the place found that, found that 3 hours of moderate aerobic exercise can improve your gut biome. What was interesting to me is I always just thought it was only probiotics. So if anything, if you take home from this presentation today, that exercise can also play a really big role. Now, if you stop, it's not like, so true story, we got a Peloton during the pandemic. My husband rode that thing 100 days straight. During those 100 days, his gut biome was pretty happy. Since that time, he has, sorry, I hope he doesn't hear me throwing him under the bus, but since that time he's really only ridden the bike a few times. He's very all or nothing, and so all of his gut improvements have disappeared. So basically you have to keep up with the exercise to keep those healthy benefits. You can't kind of like store them for later. Another benefit, the exercise actually helps to physically move the food through your digestive system more quickly. And just when we talk about digestive system or the GI tract, what we're referring to is like starting all the way at the mouth and then all the way down your throat, into your tummy, through the intestines, out through the rectum, into the toilet bowl. So the whole entire tract. And so exercise can help you like digest that food better. Paige mentioned after you eat, that could be a great time to go take a walk, sort of help get that dinner moving through the system. Also can help get rid of that gas. So if you're feeling a little bloated, or as my sister says, fluffy, she feels fluffy after a meal, that can help get rid of some of the fluff. And then if you are someone who actually likes to read the details of these research articles, it was J. Allen et al. That was the big exciting research study in humans that came out in 2018 that showed this stuff. So our goal is 3 hours a week or 180 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise. This can be broken down into small segments. They even found that even doing 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes, totally makes a difference. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I got to do my 3 hours all at once. And that if you do the math, that works out to be 25 minutes a day. So nothing too outrageous. Okay. So side note, we've been talking today about what, oh, I just saw Paige's cat walk by. Sorry. So we've been talking today about exercise in the gut, but just some other things. When I went and looked at, like, for example, Dr. Fauci, the hero who helped us this past year. So Dr. Fauci at the CDC recommends that the average adult get 30-minute moderate exercise 5 times a week, which is 2.5 hours. American Heart Association recommends 150 moderate amount. American Cancer, 150. American Cancer Society found that if you exercise, it can actually prevent 7 major types of cancer, including colon and breast. Breastcancer.org, they had done a study where they found survivors who exercised 150 minutes a week had 46% lower risk of recurrence and 43% lower risk of dying from cancer. And these women did not necessarily exercise beforehand. So we're talking like couch potatoes, become diagnosed, and they're like, oh shoot, I need to make a change. That change is still totally possible. So I added in this slide just in case anyone needed extra motivation to try to achieve this. What we're talking about for the gut actually gives us, lowers our risk of diabetes, of heart disease, it improves our mood. So yeah, there's quite a few reasons to try to get on this train. Now, the next question, what is moderate intensity? And if you look at this scale here, okay, so this scale, it's a 0 to 10 scale. So we all have our own versions. What I find to be very, very heavy for Nurse Paige would probably be very light, because she is like insanely fit. But so if you look at the scale, moderate, it's only a 3. So you don't have to kill yourself. You want to feel maybe a little breathy, or feel like your heart rate's up. Maybe I sweat super easily, so I would be sweaty, maybe a little bit sweaty, but not like pouring. It basically, you want it to be different than just sitting here on this webinar. Like you're feeling that maybe your heart's pumping a little bit harder. You can talk, but you wouldn't want to give a presentation. You would just maybe have short sentences. Some examples of moderate intensity exercise: walking, dancing, hiking, biking. So even I tried to include some things like pushing a lawnmower, or yard work, or even just walking up and down your stairs, a few flights of stairs a few times. All of these count towards that. Golf, if you're walking, carrying the clubs, that's great. Doubles tennis. So again, these don't have to be very dramatic activities here. But I did want to talk about one in particular, and that's walking. So walking, okay, so walking, when we talk about walking, we are not talking about this, okay? We're not talking about strolling with the Duke in Bridgerton here, okay? And I bring this up because so often in the clinic, when I talk to patients and they tell me, and I say, oh, so what do you do for exercise? And I say, I walk all the time. I do a lot of walking. And Unfortunately, that doesn't count as moderate intensity exercise. For example, as a physical therapist, I'm on my feet a lot, but that's just normal living for my body. This exercise has to be above and beyond what we typically do. So if you typically walk when you're grocery shopping, that doesn't really count. Now, if anyone's watched Bridgerton, I think we all know we could certainly get up to some moderate intensity exercise with the Duke, but unfortunately he's fictional. Okay, so to make walking more of a moderate intensity activity, vary your speed. So if say you walk around your neighborhood in the evening, say from like this mailbox to that mailbox, I'm going to speed walk. Just do that. That little burst will get your heart rate up. If you don't feel too silly, you could mix in skipping. Like skipping is a great exercise. Oh my goodness, your calves will get a workout. Or even a little bit like jogging. I hate running, but I could run from one mailbox to another if I had to. And that's enough of a variety to just really give you that extra boost. Also, find something that you enjoy. Listen, I will take my dog for a much longer walk if I'm listening to a podcast that I get really into. So just trying to make it less awful. Okay, now here are, I want to say one thing before I go through these tips. So I'm a physical therapist. I've been a PT for 20 years, and 18 of these 20 years, I was not an exerciser. I do not enjoy it. I would much rather be reading a book, not moving, taking a nap. All my coworkers and colleagues over the years always seem to yeah, I played volleyball on the weekends. I'd like to climb mountains, and I'm not that person. So I've been telling people all of these years to exercise, but I want everyone on this webinar to understand, like, I'm one of you. Like, maybe you guys like it. Maybe you're more like Paige, who enjoys it. I don't enjoy it. And these are some of the tips that have helped me to finally become an exerciser of some routine. So, well, first one, it's okay to hate it. Well, that's fine. You don't have to love it to be successful at it. And maybe find a friend. So everything is more fun with a friend. If there is someone who can keep you accountable, someone who maybe you both don't enjoy walking or hiking or moving, but if you find that person, it's just fun to be with them. So even though you're sweating and you're exercising, you've got that friend along with you. I also wanted to point out that it does take longer than 21 days to form a new habit. So I dove into that sentiment because I'd heard that before. And it turns out that someone said that in early 1900s or 1800s. And it just sort of stuck, but there was never any real research behind it. The people who did the research found it can take anywhere from 21 days to 2 years, depending on what your habit is. So it's really, there's a long time frame. So the other interesting part is they found if you miss a day, you still are on your path to the habit. That's okay. So just keep at it. And then continuing along with that, be gentle with yourself. So if you do miss that day, it's okay. You didn't ruin it. You're still on the path to a better exercise routine. You're doing it. And along with being gentle with yourself, find something that is an activity or time of day that is convenient for you. The reason I finally became an exerciser was pre-COVID. My husband and I would go to SoulCycle maybe 4 times a month, not much. Many months we wouldn't go at all. But then COVID happened, we were all stuck at home, and we decided to buy a bike. And that was a big investment for us. That's, it's not cheap. So seeing that thing right there in my bedroom, I'm okay, this is convenient. I can't not make excuses. I don't have to park. I don't have to go get changed in this sweaty gym with people. It's just right there. And then for me, the thing that really did it was I hated the feeling of we spent all this money and it's going to waste. I hated that feeling more than I hated exercising. And I actually heard this podcast once that talked about motivation and how we can tell, like, motivating to say stop smoking. And we've known for decades that smoking is bad. It's so addictive. It's a hard habit to break. And if you talk to people and just give them the info, it's not always like with this webinar, I'm giving you the info. That doesn't necessarily mean you will make that change. I hope you do. But what can really make a change is the story I heard. So there are two women who they're like lifelong friends, but they haven't seen each other since childhood. When they were younger, they both were smokers. So now they're in their 80s, they meet up again. One of them had stopped smoking, the other one still smoked. The one who stopped smoking was kind of like, oh, I can't believe you're still a smoker. So together, like only the way girlfriends can, they came up with this plan to help the other one stop smoking. So the smoker wrote out a check to the KKK, a generous donation to the Ku Klux Klan, put it in an envelope, gave it to the other friend, and said, if I smoke again, I want you to send this check into the Ku Klux Klan. Now, that idea, as it would be for anyone, is horrifying. Like, who wants to support this group of people? So for her, that thought of giving money to these horrendous people was way worse than having to actually give up smoking. So if you can find something like that within yourself, like I said, for me, it was the idea of the money going to waste, that can really get yourself off your butt when even all of this like very practical, research-based stuff doesn't always land. It can help to kind of keep track of your progress. You can do that with like something fancy like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, but even just a calendar on the wall is helpful. For me, it was a really nice thing when I logged into the Peloton where it'd say like, congratulations, this is your 3rd week in a row. And I'd kind of look at me, like it felt good. And then back to again with being gentle with yourself, begin with really easy, reasonable goals. One of the mistakes I made in my lifelong journey to exercise would be this sort of all or nothing thing, kind of similar, like I can totally relate to my husband doing that 100 days in a row and then just stopping, because I would go to the gym and be like, all right, I'm finally here. I need to do every single exercise because I'm here. I might as well do it. And then I would do it. I would hate it. I would probably hurt something. And then I would just never come back. So start with very easy, reasonable goals. For example, you could do just 30 minutes a week. That's it. Just start with 30 minutes a week, or start with 1 day a week. So if you look at your schedule and you're like, all right, Tuesdays at 6:30 are usually a quiet time. Every Tuesday, hit that, like try to get that going. And then once you hit that goal, maybe you have a little reward for yourself. Whatever it is that helps. And then once also that 1 day a week becomes like tolerable, that's okay, I'm doing it. It's not a big deal. I don't have to think too hard to get there. Maybe then start making it 2 days a week, or try to then progress from there. Okay. The other one, this is a bit of a soapbox for me, but I'm going to try to stay off of it, my soapbox today, but just ask for help, because exercise is not easy. If it was, we'd all be fit, like we'd all love it. We'd all be fit. We would not have obesity in this country. We wouldn't have, we wouldn't have a lot of things. We'd all have 6 packs. We'd have a lot more 6 packs. And I'm putting here, if you have any worries about starting exercise, or if you have an injury from the past and you're like, I'm worried to do X, Y, and Z because my back's going to go out, see a physical therapist. And this part in the parentheses is a little bit snarky. I know your personal trainer is the best, but it's not the same thing. And I also say that because particularly in Los Angeles, people are really like love their personal trainers, and that's great. Like if they are helping you to exercise, fantastic. But if you have an ache or a pain, you really need to see your physical therapist. We have doctorate degrees, like we have been in school forever and are experts in these little minutia of watching you move, watching you do your exercise, and knowing ways to correct that. The personal trainer just does not have that same degree of training. So if you have someone that works with you, that's fantastic. But if you do have an ache or a pain, I really would recommend just asking for help from your local physical therapist. All right, and so that was my soapbox. That's my whole little spiel about exercise. And we would like to now open it up. Let's stop the share. And let's open it up for questions. Anyone have any questions? Oh, someone asked 3 hours a day or week. It's 3 hours a week, if I didn't answer that. So yeah, you're aiming for 3 hours a week of moderate intensity exercise. Oh, thanks, Vera. Okay, so if anyone has any questions for either myself or for Nurse Paige, we are, as you can see, I can talk forever. So anyone have any questions, we're happy. Oh, okay. Dee Dee, if you would unmute yourself, okay.
Does this apply to, you think it would help the C? I mean, I'm a dancer anyway, so I do that, but I don't know if, is there a different kind of exercise that might help that? Or does this not apply to SIBO?
I mean, I'm not a SIBO expert, and Paige might be able to answer this better than I, but what I would say, like in general, that moderate is going to just make your gut a happier home. So it's only going to make things better. I don't know if it'll be sufficient. Like you might, like Paige said, still need antibiotics or what have you, but yeah, it can help and help.
Is it better to do more than, I mean, dancing, you know, modern and jazz and all that is more than moderate. You know, is that more beneficial, or doesn't that make any difference?
Not necessarily, because as Paige said too, if you go real strenuous, and I don't know the definition of what real strenuous is. Do you know off the top of your head, Paige?
I mean, I would guess I do CrossFit as well. So some of those workouts, like heavy weights and just things like that, like lifting heavy barbells, heavy dumbbells.
I would consider my dancing more than moderate, but not to that extreme. You know,
that's probably fine. And if it's something you've been doing for a while that your body's used to, you know, that's less of an issue.
Yeah. Basically, exercise, it helps decrease inflammation and improves your immune system, which is my first slide. That's 70% of your immune system is in your gut.
Right.
So exercise is really beneficial.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have two questions.
First, hi, Janelle. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Jenny. I know, but I'm an idiot and I missed the first half.
Okay.
Because I went, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I saw you're recording this. Will we be able to access it?
Yes.
Okay.
So everyone, we're still recording right now. If anyone, we'll get all the questions that people feel comfortable sharing on the recording so everyone else can listen to it. We'll do that first, and then I'll turn off.
Okay, so the other one, and you may have even told me this, but I don't remember. So when you're exercising and you're putting in this program, your own program to, up your exercise, when you hurt or you do too much or whatever, do you keep going the next day? You give it a rest? Does it make it worse? Does it make it better? Or is it individual?
So in general, we are trying to avoid pain, like just in general. If you exercise, I mean, I know you personally, so I know some of the challenges, but ideally you want to pick something that's not causing pain. And if you can't figure out what that is, that's when it's like, oh, go to, check out your local physical therapist to try to help with that. But, if you exercise and you had pain, that might be, and then I guess it's like, what kind of pain is it, right? Because pain is different for every person. For some people, that muscle soreness, that's normal. You might say that's pain. If it feels normal to you and tolerable, like, yeah, that's a sore. That's kind of what I would have expected. I can go on with my day as planned. That's different than I exercised and now I'm limping, or now I actually can't move the same way I want to because I'm in so much pain from what happened the other day. Like that's different. So if it's the first group where you're like kind of sore, but it's fine, I can handle it, that's okay. But if it's anything more than that and you can't problem solve it yourself, I would definitely reach out for help.
Okay, thanks.
Sure thing. Okay. Any other questions that you feel comfortable sharing with the group? And okay, so I'm going to end the recording. Okay, so